In this video, I'm going to show you how to use OneGoal, a powerful tool that helps you build a real spending plan around your goals, not just your bills. So without further ado, let me show you how to create your first OneGoal spending plan. After you've set up your account and connected OneGoal to your bank so that you can have transactions automatically imported, OneGoal will allow you to choose to let it create a spending plan for you or to create one yourself. I want to show you how easy it is to make a spending plan with OneGoal. So we're going to click Create Spending Plan for Me. OneGoal analyzes your transactions and then creates your spending plan. After it's created, it'll show you this screen where we can see how much I'll have going towards income, saving, bills, and spending, along with a projection for my savings and spending for the year. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay because we can change whatever we want within the plan. Let's click View Spending Report. The spending report gives you an actual view of your finances for a period of time. It's important to check your reports to see how your actual spending compares with your plan. You can view this week, this month, you can view the last 6 months or the year. I'd like to show you the last 6 months because that'll give us a good feel for how our spending stacks up over a longer period of time. That way we can see a more balanced view of our spending trend. To do that, we're going to go to the calendar up here on the upper right, click on that, click on last 6 months. Now we can see how our income, savings, and spending stacks up. Now we're going to see 4 high-level categories in this area: income, savings, bills, and spending. If it's green, that means you've spent less in that category than you planned. If it's red, you've spent more. You can also click on the down arrow of each category to see the subcategories. So for spending here, let's click on the down arrow. We can see these different categories that fit into our spending, like shopping, gas, groceries. Now, even if your top level category is green, like spending, some of your subcategories might be red. If we scroll down, we can see home improvement, pets, entertainment, government departments, education. Those are all red. We'll definitely have to fix these later. Now, there's a little icon on the lower right of each subcategory and category that you can click on, and this will show the comparison between your spending plan and your actual spending. So for pets, we can see that our plan is to spend just under $50, and we've already spent almost $100. Clearly, we're going to have to fix that. If we click on the icon under travel, we can see that we've overspent this by almost $1,600 in the last 6 months. Now, we did just go on a vacation 2 months ago, but it's looking like we're going to have to change our plan for travel. Now, the last couple things I want to point out are on the upper right, we've got actual cash flow. This is saying that based off of the expenses that we've had in the last 6 months and the actual income, we are positive over $10,000, which is great news. We can also see this graph on the right, which gives us a visual representation of how we stack up with our income, savings, bills, spending. Now here on the left side, you can see the main parts of OneGoal. Here's plan. This is essentially an overview of the spending plan that we just created, and it'll give us projections based on that plan. If we click on Categorize, this is where we can easily drag and drop transactions that have been imported into OneGoal. Plus, you can add and edit categories here as well. Then we've got reports, which is what we just briefly looked at right after creating our spending plan. Under that is accounts. This is where it shows the different bank accounts that we have connected and their current balances. You can also add more linked accounts or add manual accounts from here as well. The transactions tab is under that. This tab is mostly for just scrolling through, finding different transactions easily. You can make modifications to your transactions here, but we're mostly going to focus on doing that in the plan tab. Under that is bank connections. This is where you can easily connect to another bank if you have more transactions to import. Then you have settings below that. You can make changes to your subscription here, change your OneGoal, create rules for the transactions that are being imported, and also turn on auto fund of envelopes, which we'll touch on later. I do want to note that under manage access, you can also invite others to join your spending plan. This is really important if you have like a spouse who you want to manage your finances together. You can invite them to join your spending plan, and then you can focus on these goals together. Okay, so we've created our spending plan. We've also looked initially at reports to kind of see where we're at with our finances. The next thing we're going to do is review and categorize our transactions. OneGoal is going to go through your transactions, and it's going to assign those transactions to categories that you have in your spending plan. Then when transactions are imported, all you have to do is either mark reviewed if that category is correct, or drag and drop to the correct category. So Krispy Kreme donuts, yes, that fits into restaurants. So we're going to click on mark reviewed. Cinemark theaters, that fits into entertainment, which is correct, mark reviewed. But there are some that are not correct. So this one is an ACH withdrawal. It's actually from our daycare. That fits under bills. So we're going to tap on bills. We have a daycare category set up already. So all we have to do is drag and drop this onto daycare. Now that transaction has been recategorized. Here's another one that's not correct. Care heating, that's for our HVAC company. In my opinion, that fits under home improvements. So we're going to go over to spending. You can see home improvements right here. All we have to do is drag and drop. How about this one, which happens to be my wife's income? For some reason, it's been put into miscellaneous. Let's go over to income. We've got two categories set up already, interest paid and salary. I personally like to have different lines for income so I can track the different types of income. So what we're going to do is create a category for her income. So we're gonna go up here to click plan. We'll click the plus sign. Then we're going to just call this salary 2. This happens twice a month. So we're going to put this in as $699.44. Click on frequency, twice every month, and then it's going to ask us when that actually happens. So it happens on the 15th and the 29th. We'll click save, and then we'll click save again. Perfect. Now we have another income category. If we click on done, and then we go back and find the transaction here in the bottom, we can drag and drop that onto salary 2. So another thing I want to show you is if you use cash to pay for something, how you input that transaction. So this morning, my wife and I got coffee, but I paid for it in cash. Let's go to spending. We'll go down to restaurants, click on restaurants. I can now click on create transaction. We'll put it in as $10, call it coffee, and then we'll click save. Super easy to put in a manual transaction. Now, the other really nice thing about this categorize section is that you can click on any of these transactions and you can modify them here. So let's say this transaction with Amazon doesn't actually fit in a single category. All we have to do is scroll down here and we can click on split transaction. Part of it was something for the house. So we click on home improvements. Let's put in $30 for home improvements, and then the shopping automatically changes. Now we can click save, and that has now automatically reviewed that transaction. Now what I would do is go through each of your transactions and mark them as reviewed or put them in the correct category. That'll make it a lot easier for reviewing in the reports tab later, and it'll give you a much better look at how your finances actually stack up with your plan. I'll do that real quick with the rest of these. All right, we just got all our transactions categorized. Now we're going to go back to our reports and check how our actual spending tracks with our spending plan. Okay, so now that we're in reports, we can see those top 4 categories again. Now, these might look a little different than last time we looked at reports because we moved some transactions around to different categories. So the nice thing is right here, we can see that our actual cash flow for the month is still very much positive, which is great. Let's review our subcategories. We'll click the down arrow. All this still looks fine so far. We still have 10 days left in the month, along with a couple extra paychecks, so that's perfectly fine. Now let's look at savings. So the interesting thing is that we have hardly any money coming out of our savings categories thus far this month. If we collapse that and click on bills, this looks like the main culprit of our spending so far, with a number of categories being far overspent. It looks like so far we've given more than we planned. Our daycare was a little bit higher than what we planned in our spending plan. Also, for some reason, our spending plan showed that our mortgage was going to be much lower than what it actually is. So we'll have to change that as well. But the main thing that I want to point out is utilities. Utilities is very high for this month. And the reason is because we have propane for our heating. We get a discount by paying for all of our winter's propane all at once. So we tend to save for our propane throughout the entire year. So by clicking on this icon, we can see that we've planned $155, but we have spent over $1,000. Fortunately, that's not an accurate view of how every month is going to go. Now, while we're here, if you just click on View Spending Report, it can show you the historical trend for this specific category. Let's switch this over to months. Obviously, it's not looking that great. It's saying that we're spending more than our plan. We've budgeted $155 a month, but we've spent over $1,000 a month. But when we click on the calendar up here and change it to the last 12 months, we can see the average of our spending in this category is much lower per month because we've only spent that $1,000 one time in the last 12 months. Either way, if you're overspending or underspending, you can change the amount that goes into that category from here by just clicking on edit. Super useful feature. We'll also touch on this a little later. All right, let's go back. If we continue scrolling down, we can see that our other categories look okay. Let's collapse that and we'll look at our spending. So far, everything looks pretty good in terms of our spending. If we scroll down, we can see that our charity is a little over. That's just a different kind of giving that we've separated out. But also our entertainment is way overspent. Looks like One Goal only planned $4.60 for our entertainment, so we'll have to change that. Another weird thing that you may notice when you're going through your transactions is that some categories might not be showing what you're expecting. So like gas right here shows $0. So does groceries. I can guarantee we have not spent $0 on gas or groceries this month. Turns out we actually pay for our groceries and our gas with a different account. So something weird like this may be a good indicator that you need to go back and add some accounts that you may have forgotten. For the sake of the video, I'll just add in a couple manual transactions just so we can see that there's something being spent there and we don't get an inaccurate view of our spending. Okay, now that those are updated, if we scroll up, we can see that our actual cash flow has also gone down. That's fine, we're still positive. Now, while you can make changes to your spending plan through reports, I'm going to encourage you to go to the Plan tab to do that. So let's go up here to the left, click on Plan. Here we can modify each category and modify those planned amounts. And more importantly, you can see how changing your plan can also change your cash projections. Look here, we've got planned cash flow that's positive by almost $2,200 every month. Now, if we change this from view in months to view in years, it shows our total planned cash flows at over $26,000 every year, which means we'll save that much every year if we stick to our plan. And if we look at the graph, it shows our projected account balance is based on that plan. Visually, this helps a lot because you can see that overall our balance is going up, which is great. Now, yes, we have a lot of planned cash flow left for the year, but there are a lot of categories that we need to modify. Let's click on bills. We'll click on giving, edit category. Let's change this to every month. And we'll change this amount to $1,000, which will be a little bit more than what we've already given this month. So we just changed that. Now our planned cash flow for the year has gone down a little bit. Turns out our daycare actually costs $663. So we're going to click on that, click edit category, $663. Save. Now changing mortgage is going to be a big one because we've way overspent in this, but that's why we made changes. So we'll click on mortgage, edit category. We'll change this to every month. And the amount is $1629.03. Save. Now that made a big difference on the amount of cash flow that we have planned for this year. Now, if we collapse bills and go to spending, we've already spent $350 this month on groceries, and we still have like 10 days left. So we're going to go to groceries, and we're going to change the amount that it has set aside from $315 to, we'll do $550. Just for good measure, we'll also change our entertainment category to monthly, and we'll give it $100 a month. Now, another category we need to address is our car maintenance. Turns out we've actually spent more like $1,200 over the past year. So we're going to go into car maintenance, edit category. We're going to change it to $100 per month. Save. Okay, great. We've got almost $6,200 left in our planned cash flow. Our projection is still looking good, but maybe we forgot a couple things. But let's say we have a car payment and a student loan payment in an account that is not attached to one goal. So we have to add that in as bills. Let's expand bills. We'll go down here, add category, car loan, and we'll put in $400. All right, our planned cash flow is now just under $1,400, which means when we go down here and add in another category for student loan of $200, suddenly it notifies us here at the top that we're spending more than we're making by over $1,000. Yikes. Now when we scroll up, we can see our planned cash flow is negative $1,000. It's a little hard to tell, but our projection graph is trending down. But here's the good news. Awareness is your friend. If one goal shows you that your cash flow for the year is negative, that's painful. But that means that now you know what you need to do to change it. You got two options: increase income or decrease expenses. Maybe you decide you don't need as nice of a vacation every year. We can go in here to savings, click on travel, edit category, and we'll change this to $400. It still shows that our planned cash flow is negative for the year, but that's okay, this helps. Let's change back to view in months. Now it shows that we're only negative $41.18 every month. That's not at all terrible. We can for sure cut that out of some of the categories. But maybe we just decide to work a little extra in our side gig to make some extra income every month, resulting in another $200. Go to side gig, change this to $400. Now we're positive $158 every month. Very nice. I know awareness is tough sometimes, especially when numbers don't look good, but one goal is your superpower. Just review your transactions regularly, and it'll tell you what you need to know and what you need to change about your spending plan. Now let's jump back to reports. Now what I love about this is that you get a much better view of your finances if you look at it over a longer period of time. For example, we just spent over $1,000 in utilities for our propane. When we go to bills, that makes utilities look pretty bad. But again, we're not spending that every month. And we could see that earlier by clicking on the view spending report and looking at the historical trend. But we can also do that by going up here to the calendar and clicking on the last 12 months. And now the utilities have turned green, which shows that in the last 12 months, we've actually spent way less in utilities than we planned, by about $800. So we could definitely change the plan for this and put that $800 into some other category. Now, OneGoal has a tool that will help you track every dollar of your spending if you want, and that's called envelopes. Envelopes are great for any category where you need sinking funds. A couple examples for me are vacations and propane. Like I said, we only pay for propane once a year, so an envelope helps us save throughout the entire year for that. For travel, vacations vary a lot in terms of cost and timing. Some years we go on a couple more expensive trips. Some years we don't go on any. Changing the travel category to an envelope means that OneGoal will keep a running tally of how much money you've set aside for that category. All we have to do again is go to travel, edit category, and if you look below frequency, you can turn this into an envelope. Click that. Now when I save $400 a month for travel, if we don't go on a trip for 2 years, it'll build up $9,600 in this envelope. Then if we take a $9,000 trip to Europe, each expense on the trip will eventually lower the balance of that envelope down to $600, which can then be used for the next vacation. Just keep in mind, envelopes are great if you're trying to save for something that's going to take a long time, especially for something like a car or a down payment on a house. And there you go. Now you know the essentials of OneGoal and creating your first spending plan. For a more in-depth look at different parts of OneGoal, check out this video next.